Sorry, can you hear me now? Hi guys, can you hear me? Okay, good. So yeah, so first of all, thank you so much for having me on board a panel amongst a lot of experienced people within the field. It is my great pleasure and honor to discuss such an important topic that we need to take more seriously in this country, not only this country, but again, across the continent. Now, mental health, as we all know, is very serious, and a lot of people are suffering in silence. You know, we don't take it seriously because it's not something that's physical. It is not something we can touch or physically grab. It is something that an individual suffers alone. Now, my topic today is why young people should take mental health seriously. Now, before I go into that topic, I want us just to go through a brief definition of what mental health is. And it refers to the cognitive, behavioral, and emotional well-being. It's all about how people think, feel, and behave. Now, what that means is that mental health is the very existence of a human being. It controls literally everything that we are. And that is why it's so important to address it. Now, there are many factors, of course, that affect mental health, and I'll explain a few. So we have environment. You know, environment being, for example, I'll use Nigeria as a case study. We all know it's very tough in this country. It's very difficult to make a means if you're not from maybe a well-off family, or if you don't have connects. It's very hard to work your way up. You know, all these contributing factors can affect someone mentally. You know, also your work environment. If you have a large family of 6, 7, 8 kids and you're not getting paid enough to feed those kids, it can affect you emotionally, it can affect you mentally, because you feel like as a man or as a woman, you need to provide, but you're not able to provide because of the situation that you're in. And of course, family and friends, social media. And social media is a very important factor. For us young guys, you know, a lot of us are on social media, on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and we're seeing how other celebrities live. You know, this one's in a private jet, this one is driving a Lamborghini or a Range Rover, and we look to them like, why is my life not like that? We put so much pressure on ourselves to live the life that other people are living. It's become a thing where we don't live for ourselves, we live for others now. And that really contributes to mental health. So in general, especially I'm going to now speak about Nigeria again, the reason why we have high unemployment in this country, and that contributes to the high mental health cases we have in this country as well. I mean, if more people are suffering from mental health, it means a lot of us are not able to put ourselves or gather the strength within ourselves to go get a job. Because again, going back, mental health affects the very well-being and the cognitive process of a human being. So we're not able to find the strength to really go change our lives. So again, it contributes to a lot of factors regarding the economy of the country and, you know, getting it moving forward. So going back, and I'm going to just talk more about mental health because to me it's very important. So one of the ways a person can look after his mental health and preserve the ability to enjoy one's life is by trying to reach a balance between life activities, responsibilities, and of course efforts to achieve psychological resilience. Now what that means is that, yes, you do have to find whatever strength inside you to get yourself through that painful journey of mental illness. I mean, yes, you can get a lot of help from people and agencies, but you really have to find the psychological resilience, and that is just down to you as a human being. If you're able to find the psychological resilience to help yourself, just to really push yourself to get through whatever you're getting through, that is when you can begin the journey of fighting mental health. Now, why young people should take this very seriously is because it literally affects every part of your life. You know, you struggle to wake up in the morning, you struggle to sleep, you struggle to eat, you struggle to socialize, you struggle to find happiness. Now, the essence of life is to find happiness. Now, if you're struggling to find happiness on a daily basis, that means there is a serious problem. That is why it's very serious for young people to take this seriously. And of course, if you don't address it early, it manifests onto you as you get older. And as you get older, it gets worse. And that is when it's a lot harder to address mental health, because it's an issue that if you're, especially as a young person, if you have it as a young person, the best thing for you to do is address it then and there. Do not wait for someone to come to you. Do not wait for a sign. You have to gather the strength within your body and go and seek help. And that is why I was so honored to be on this panel today, because I feel like the platform I have is a good way to help. And I also appeal to all my celebrity friends out there to use their platforms to also address this very, very serious issue. Now, another thing I want to say regarding this is you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Now, what I mean by that is that you have nothing to lose by seeking help or by telling somebody that, listen, I am struggling for mental health. I feel sad every day. I feel depressed every day. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Nobody will tell you, oh, go and suffer in silence or get out of my face. Nobody will say that to you. That's why I say you have nothing to lose and everything to gain if you just gather the strength to go and seek help, guys. I'm really appealing to you to seek help if you have any issues regarding mental health. Now, the steps we can take going forward as a nation. So, number one is response. We need to use creative messaging to create a greater capacity amongst Nigerian youths on how to spot the signs of mental and psychological illness and appropriate ways to respond to it. So what that means is, first of all, let's normalize it so that people can stop hiding their signs and therefore we can spot them easier. The issue is, if we don't normalize it in the country, if I'm suffering from mental health, I'm not going to show you. I'd rather stay in my room and suffer in silence. And that is the most dangerous part, is when you suffer in silence and don't make people aware. So we need to normalize it first. And normalize it means we have more discussions, have more conversations. We all agree as a community that it's a very serious thing. People need to feel safe to talk about it. So one of the response should be first to normalize it and therefore create a community where we can discuss these things. And I'm so happy again that we're having the discussion, because I feel like we are creating awareness and we are in a community to talk about this. Now, of course, the other one is awareness. We need, and I'm sure we can all agree amongst the panelists, we need to create greater awareness amongst, again, Nigerian youths on the need for seeking mental health support. We need to make them believe that it is okay to seek mental health. It is okay to come to me for help. And of course, amongst African countries, we don't really prioritize these sort of things because we feel like if you can't touch it physically, it is not there. Therefore, there is no need to create the awareness because we almost don't believe in it. But once we start creating the awareness and, letting our youths know that, guys, it's okay. We are agencies, we are hospitals, we are doctors catered towards mental health. We specialize in these things. Come to me and we will help you. The more of us, the more people that does that kind of act, it really allows us youth to feel comfortable. Number one, to show signs. Number two, it creates the awareness that these agencies and these people are here to help. Now, of course, we're in the 21st century. So, of course, technology is everything. So we need innovation. We need to develop innovative communications and messaging strategies for reaching out to the youth, both in the urban and the rural areas. And a lot of the time, the rural areas are often forgotten, but they account for the majority of our population. So we can't forget the rural areas. We must focus on them. We must reach out to them. We must have these discussions that are actually bringing them on board, because a lot of the time we focus on the cities, focus on people who have the capacity to jump online. There's still a whole lot of other people in the rural areas that are suffering from these very diseases, but they have no voice that can be heard. We need to reach out to the rural areas as well. That is such an important thing. Please, guys, we need to reach out to the rural areas because they are suffering the same way as we are suffering here in the urban areas. Now, of course, the most important thing is legislation and policy. It's very hard to have these important discussions if there is no policy and legislation to support it. Now, we all know we need to work with the relevant agencies to begin a national discourse on the need for a strategic framework to guide the provision of mental health care in Nigeria. I'm going to say that again because it's very important. We need to work with the relevant agencies to begin a national discourse on the need for a strategic framework, keyword is framework, to guide the provision of mental health care in Nigeria. If we do not have the government's backing or relevant agencies backing, we as panelists or you guys as professionals, it makes it very difficult to do your job. You need to be backed by the relevant agencies and have the essential frameworks and tools For number one, for you guys to do your job, and number two, for us as patients to feel comfortable to come to you with the problems we have. We need to feel the confidence. We need to see that, yes, there are agencies, yes, there are hospitals that dedicate 100% of their time and effort towards our well-being. And of course, let me just touch on my experience on Big Brother. A lot of people think that when you go for a show as Big Brother, the whole world is watching, the whole continent is watching. When you come out, there's a certain expectation that you have to adhere to. It means you have to be living a good life. You have to be making a lot of money, flying in private jets, doing this, doing that. It puts a lot of pressure on housemates to deliver to the standards that fans want of them and they expect of them. I'm pretty sure many of them or some of them could be suffering from mental illnesses. And I know some of my colleagues did a show on YouTube, an interview the other day where they spoke about the past Big Brother housemates, and I think one of them mentioned that 60% of them suffer from mental illnesses. And the show, I believe, started from 2004 or thereabouts up until now. There's a lot of pressure on us and past housemates to deliver. So mental illnesses can come in many different shapes and forms. And that's just my experience personally coming from Big Brother House, is that, a lot of people expect us to be a shining example, some sort of demigod that's, we have to be living a certain type of life and we have to be doing this and doing that. But they forget we're just human beings like everyone else. Now, I want you guys to pay attention. I'm going to go through some of the facts back from the UN and other journals that I read upon. There are more than 200 classified forms of mental illness in Nigeria alone. An estimated 20 to 30% of our population are believed to suffer from mental disorder. Now, you have to understand, more than 60% of our population is young. Which means 20 to 30% of that is suffering from mental illnesses. It's such a staggering statistic that needs to be addressed. And it's not something I want to wait till next year or next 2-3 years for it to be addressed. I want it to be addressed today. It's so serious because it really affects our nation and it really affects the youths in this nation, and we are made up of youths. 7 million Nigerians suffer from one of the most ignored and misunderstood forms of mental disorder, and that's depression. And I personally know a few people who actually suffer from depression, and trust me, it's a very difficult thing to get out of. Very, very difficult thing. And it can be a very lonely place. Approximately 3% of our population suffer from anxiety disorders. The statistics show that Nigeria has only about 150 psychiatrists to care for over 200 million people. That's about one psychiatrist to 1.3 million Nigerians, and 5 mental health nurses to about 100,000 Nigerians, which means they're obviously overwhelmed. There is not enough doctors to actually address the problem. There's not enough doctors. Let me just say those stats again. There's about 150 psychiatrists to care for over 180 million Nigerians. 150 psychiatrists. That's 1.2 million Nigerians to 5 mental health workers. It's staggering. Only 4% of government expenditure is on health and is allocated to mental health. It just shows you that it's something that we don't take seriously at all. The budget is too low. There's not enough doctors. There's not enough awareness. There's no responses. I mean, the figures don't lie. Presently, there's no legislative or financial provisions to protect and provide support for those suffering from mental health challenges. Again, that's staggering. So if you do suffer from mental health, there is no legislative or financial support that can help you. You either have to fund it by yourself or find some sort of grants from a private initiative. So it goes to show you how important mental health is. It doesn't just start from the government or from us as professionals. It really starts from the people suffering from it. I think you have to really tell people, make some noise that you're suffering. If we start a movement together, the same way as the SARS or any other movements out there in the world, if you start a mental health movement, your voices will be heard.